Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety of the files, so
you haven't reviewed all of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all of the files.
What I've been doing is been busy providing the safest country this country has seen in modern U.S. history in historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked and the number of pedophiles.
It sounds like those children being trafficked would appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director.
Things got absolutely heated in Congress today when Congressman Eric Swalwell went head-to-head with FBI Director Kash Patel over one of the most explosive questions you can imagine. Does Donald Trump's name appear in the Epstein files? What should have been a simple yes or no turned into a brutal fight, full of dodging, deflection, and even personal insults. This wasn't just a hearing, it was a full-on showdown, and it tells us a lot about who's being protected and who's fighting for the truth.
Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety of the files, so
you haven't reviewed all of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all of the files.
What I've been doing is been busy providing the safest country this country has seen in modern U.S. history in historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked and the number of pedophiles.
It sounds like those children being trafficked would appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job is not to engage in political innuendo so you can go out to the sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising article.
My time, Director.
Keep going, reclaiming your time, because the people of California are being underserved by your representation.
If the president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves him?
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released. Your fixation on this matter and baseless accusations that I'm hiding child pedophiles is disgusting. Anyone that says that needs to look at the stats alone and go back to the state of California, who's receiving the biggest surge in FBI resources through my redeployment, because the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco need it.
Director, remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the Attorney's file.
It's a simple question. Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is simple.
Did
you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes
if you're
or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No, A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F.
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your
Director,
constituency
did
by
you tell the
focusing on
Attorney
reducing
General
violent
that Donald
crime in this
Trump's name-
country and the number of pedophiles that are
Director,
illegally
reclaiming my
harbored in
time,
your
Director.
sanctuary cities in
Director,
California?
reclaiming
I'll
my
work with
time.
you on that. Do
Regular
you want
order,
to
Mr.
work with us
Chairman.
on that?
Director,
Time
reclaiming my
belongs to the
time.
gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or
Question
no?
has been asked and answered.
You have not answered it, and we will take your evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt. Director, did Donald Trump ever say to you, just find and release the entire truth? Don't worry if I'm in it.
The instructions from the administration were to release all credible information, and we have done that.
Did Donald Trump ever provide information about Jeffrey Epstein as an informant?
Donald Trump has not been, and I can only speak for the FBI, an informant of the FBI.
So, Director, you've played this cute shell game where you say you can't release everything because the court has said that it legally is not allowed to be released, but the court calls bullshit. Judge Richard Berman said that when you went to the court, quote, information contained in the Epstein grand jury transcripts pales in comparison to Epstein investigation information and materials in the hands of the Department of Justice. So let's move on, Director. You wrote a book called Government Gangsters. You identified 20 individuals in that book. You put me on that list at the top of the list. Thank you. My children find it flattering. 20 of those individuals have been investigated or have had adverse actions. Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
the
because
question
they failed
again.
to meet the muster in
Director,
their constitutional
I will
obligation.
work on the
No.
audio-visual capabilities.
I'm going to
of the room so
borrow
that you
your
can hear me.
terminology and call
I'm reclaiming
bullshit
my
on your
time.
entire career in
I'm
Congress.
reclaiming my
It
time,
has been a
Director.
disgrace to the American
Director, I'm
people.
reclaiming my time.
You can reclaim your
You
time all you
recuse yourself.
want.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak this way? Mr. Chairman, would you give...
Recuse yourself,
The gentleman has no time.
Mr.
to
Chairman,
be
would you
fair.
admonish the witness not to insult members?
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman,
the
just
committee will remember.
Quick point of order. Could the gentleman be extended an additional 20 seconds to complete his thoughts since the witness decided to interrupt him continuously?
And the witness will be able to respond if he wants. We'll make sure
Thank
he has
you.
time to do that.
My question
Gentleman,
is,
continue.
will you, Director, recuse yourself, yes or no, from investigating or making decisions about the 60 individuals, including myself, that you identified as government gangsters? Yes or no?
Time of the gentleman has expired. The
No.
witness may respond if he would like.
And the answer was no, as I heard.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, folks, let me take you straight into one of the most heated and revealing exchanges we've seen in Congress this year. This wasn't just another routine oversight hearing. This was fireworks. Pure, unfiltered confrontation between Congressman Eric Swalwell and FBI Director Kash Patel, with Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and the fight for transparency sitting right at the center of it all. And if you think this was just political theater, think again, because what happened in that room tells us a lot about where our democracy is headed, who's being protected, and why accountability seems to always stop short when it comes to the powerful. So here's the scene. Swalwell, a Democrat from California and a fierce critic of Trump, had Patel in the hot seat. The question on the table could not have been more straightforward. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name appears in the Epstein files? That's it. A yes or no question. And you'd think if there was nothing there, if there was nothing connecting Trump in those files, Patel would have just said no and moved on. But that's not what happened. Instead, what we got was a masterclass in Washington stonewalling. Patel started rambling about his numerous conversations with the Attorney General. He started talking about reviews conducted by his team, and then he pivoted hard to crime, sanctuary cities, and a laundry list of talking points that had nothing to do with the question Swalwell asked. Folks, this is classic evasion. You don't dodge a question unless you've got something you don't want exposed. Swalwell knew it, the room knew it, and honestly, anyone watching could see it. Now here's where things get interesting. Swalwell didn't let Patel off the hook. He cut through the deflection and pressed the question again and again. Yes or no? Did you tell the Attorney General that Trump's name was in the files? Patel danced, he deflected, he even resorted to mocking responses like, why don't you use the alphabet? Yes or no? ABC. And I want to pause right there, because think about the arrogance of that. You've got the head of the FBI, under oath, treating a legitimate question about a convicted child predator and possible ties to a former president as if it's some kind of joke. That is insulting not just to Swalwell, but to the American people who deserve answers. And when Swalwell called him out, Patel tried to flip the script, accusing Swalwell of playing politics and of not caring about violent crime. Again, a complete dodge. But Swalwell wasn't rattled. He went even further. He asked Patel if Donald Trump had ever instructed him to release the entire truth, even if Trump himself was implicated. Patel wouldn't say yes. He wouldn't say Trump ever gave that instruction, which tells us what we already know. Donald Trump doesn't want transparency. He never has. He wants selective truth, truth that benefits him, truth that protects him. Then came another bombshell question. Did Trump ever provide information to the FBI as an informant in the Epstein case? Patel's answer was carefully worded. Trump has never been an FBI informant. But notice what he didn't say. He didn't say Trump had no connection whatsoever. He didn't say Trump's name doesn't appear. He gave a limited denial that technically checks the box, but leaves the bigger question wide open. That's not accountability. That's lawyer speak. And here's why this matters. Federal Judge Richard Berman has already said on the record that the Department of Justice is sitting on material far more explosive than what has been released to the public. His exact words, "The grand jury transcripts pale in comparison to the Epstein-related information the DOJ is holding." That means there's a mountain of evidence locked away, evidence that could implicate powerful people, maybe even a former president. And Kash Patel is sitting there pretending his hands are tied, when the reality is the DOJ has made deliberate choices about what to reveal and what to keep secret. Now, if you're asking yourself why this feels like a cover-up, you're not alone. Democrats like Swalwell, Elizabeth Warren, Sheldon Whitehouse, and others have been calling for transparency in the Epstein case for years. They've been saying the public has a right to know who enabled Epstein, who covered for him, and who was complicit. But every single time the FBI or DOJ is pressed, we get the same evasions: ongoing investigations, grand jury secrecy, privacy concerns. Funny how those concerns only ever seem to protect the powerful, while victims are left without justice. And then the hearing took another turn. Swalwell reminded Patel of something personal, his own book, Government Gangsters. In that book, Patel literally listed 20 individuals he considered enemies of the state, people he smeared as corrupt or disloyal. Swalwell's name was at the top of that list. So Swalwell asked the obvious: if you've labeled me and others as government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making investigative decisions about us? That's a fair question. Any judge or prosecutor would be expected to step aside if they had publicly declared bias against someone they were investigating. But Patel? He flat out said no. That's not just arrogance, that's corruption of the process. Imagine writing a book where you smear your political enemies, then refusing to step aside when you're in a position of power over their legal fate. That's not democracy, that's authoritarianism. That's what Trump world has always been about, using the levers of government to punish critics and protect allies. And let's not gloss over the tone here. Patel didn't just deflect, he insulted Swalwell, saying his entire career had been a disgrace to the American people. Folks, that's not how a professional testifies before Congress. That's not how someone with nothing to hide responds to oversight. That's the language of a partisan operative, someone who sees himself not as a servant of the law, but as an enforcer for Donald Trump. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with more questions than answers, but also with a clear picture of the stakes. On one side, you have Democrats like Swalwell demanding transparency, demanding accountability, demanding that the truth about Epstein and his connections to powerful men be fully released. On the other side, you have Trump's loyalists in government doing everything possible to muddy the waters, to deflect, to protect their boss. And in the middle, the American people, once again left wondering if justice will ever apply to the wealthy and well-connected the way it applies to everyone else. Let's zoom out even further, because this is bigger than Epstein. This is about whether our institutions can be trusted to tell the truth. If the FBI director can't even answer a yes or no question under oath without playing games, why should anyone believe the FBI is acting independently? If the DOJ is sitting on documents a federal judge says are explosive, why should the public believe they're serving justice instead of protecting the elite? Democrats are right to press this issue. They're right to demand the release of all credible Epstein files, regardless of who is implicated. Because here's the truth. Justice doesn't mean protecting reputations. Justice doesn't mean shielding the rich from consequences. Justice means letting the facts come out, letting the evidence speak, and letting the public see who was involved in Epstein's crimes and who looked the other way. And to those who say, well, maybe it's too sensitive, maybe it's too complicated, no. What's too sensitive is the fact that young girls were trafficked, abused, and exploited while powerful men circled around Epstein like moths to a flame. What's too complicated is explaining why decades of law enforcement failed those victims while Epstein lived like a king. That's the scandal, and no amount of political spin should erase it. So here's the takeaway. Swalwell exposed Kash Patel's game. He showed the American people that this FBI director is not interested in accountability, not interested in transparency, and certainly not interested in exposing the truth about Donald Trump. Instead, Patel is interested in protecting Trump, protecting himself, and protecting the system that shields the powerful from consequences. And that's why these hearings matter. Because every time a Democrat like Swalwell refuses to back down, every time they push for straight answers, they chip away at the wall of silence protecting the elite. They remind the public that oversight is not a partisan stunt, it's a constitutional duty. And if the Republicans in Congress won't do their job, then Democrats have to be the ones to step up and demand the truth. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Epstein. It's about who we are as a country. Do we believe in equal justice under the law? Or do we believe in one set of rules for ordinary Americans and another set of rules for the Trumps, the Epsteins, and the Patels of the world? If we choose the latter, then democracy itself is on life support. If we choose the former, then it starts with transparency, it starts with accountability, and it starts with demanding that no one is above the law. And that, my friends, is why this exchange matters. Because in that hearing room, when Swalwell stood his ground and refused to accept Patel's evasions, he wasn't just speaking for himself. He was speaking for the victims who never got justice. He was speaking for the millions of Americans who are sick of double standards. He was speaking for the very idea of democracy itself. And that's the fight worth having. So stay tuned, because this battle is far from over. Democrats are pushing, the truth is out there, and the American people are demanding answers. And when it finally comes out, it's going to shake the foundations of power. If you believe the truth matters and that justice should never be optional, then hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to Progressive Lens, focusing on truth for the people.